I'm tired of doing this all for free. I want to make some money. I've made over 20 games at this point, and I haven't put a single one up for sale. Why is that? Well, I feel weird. Most of my games are typical of what you find for free on a game hosting website like itch.io. How do I, as a solo developer, make a game that you want to pay money for? First, I'll need to identify what makes a game worthy of actual money, and then make sure my game is worth some. So to start this devlog series, I want to establish my goals up front. I want to 1. Make a game that's worth some money, 2. Sell that game on some platform and make some money, and 3. Have the game finished but not necessarily out by 2023. I may have some stretch goals down the road, but I think it's important to first establish what I feel is the bare minimum. The first step is to make sure I have a game that's fun and worth paying money for. And here's where I've got a bit of advantage from competing in all these game jams. The nice thing about having so many games from all the jams I've made is I have a good idea of what worked as a prototype and what didn't. There's a few that were just plain bad, and they would not be good for a commercial release. So let's just cross those off the list right now. For example, my cultist killing puzzle game was one that I was super excited for when I was making it, but when I played it, it just wasn't all that complex or fun. Same goes for Awaremon, my turn-based game. Easy mode, my bullet hell where you punch away bullets, or Overparented, my poor clone of Overcooked. A few of the games I have would work as commercial games on something like mobile, but I just don't want to spend all this time working on them at the moment. That knocks out Escape from Area 49, Spumoni, and Earthdiver. And there's a couple that I think would be fantastic as full games, but they would just take way too much work for what I have in mind. This is a first game from a hobbyist dev, and a full release would take years, not months. So Off-Brand Hero and Mistborn, my 2 Metroidvanias, are both out. Same with Merge Awaremon, which I actually plan on switching to the Godot engine at some point and making my second or third commercial release. There's still a few games left that I think would be great to turn into full games, but one of these is just an absolute blast for me to play, and that's Seth's Slidemup. It may not look like much, but this game won me the Judge's Choice at Xander Jam and the Community Showcase Award with the GXC for Best Level Design. I feel like even though the game is certainly rough around the edges, it's got something really special in it, and I'm gonna milk that golden cow for every drop of milk she's got. First, a little bit about the game. It's a cutesy 2D sliding block game where the goal is to eliminate all the enemies and to get to the exit. And I know that sounds easy, but some of these puzzles have stumped even the mightiest minds I've put them up against. The catch is that these pink blocks can be used both to help you get into spaces you normally can't reach, but you also have to have a bit of momentum to move them, so they can trap you if you're not careful. If you want to see a bit more on the original development of the game, you can check out my devlog. It was made back when I released it, though I didn't really use a script back then, so fair warning. Talking about all the little changes that I need to make to my game is something I'll be covering in future devlogs. So for now, let's just discuss a few of the obvious things that need to go. The first thing that's gotta go is this art style. I remember making this and thinking that it was my first HD pixel art, since all the sprites are 64 by 64 pixels. But I'm just not talented enough with pixel art to make this look good. I'd probably have been better off making my own character, which brings me to my next point. I based this off the prologue from that same Way of Kings book, but I obviously don't have the rights to it. In the story, the assassin in white kills everyone in the throne room and assassinates the king, which is the event that starts the ball rolling for everything else that happens in the book. I don't think the author has a trademark on assassins in white killing kings, so now we've got a generic assassin, Seth, who kills everyone, and I don't think there's anything else in the game that was really identifiable as being from the Way of Kings. This goes hand in hand with the art, but I don't know what I was smoking when I came up with the aspect ratio for this. I don't even know if I knew what aspect ratio was at the time. I think it's in 4:3, but honestly I can't tell. Regardless, the game needs to run at a 16:9 ratio now. I originally toyed around with a 9:16 for a mobile release, but mobile is a bit challenging for me at the moment, and I like to first focus on the desktop and maybe console release. It's also really tough to convert the game from horizontal to vertical because of what's in the game right now. All the enemies stand on platforms and don't float in the air, so to tip the levels on their side would require cutting or reworking a bunch of levels. It's not out of the question for a mobile port at some point, but it's not my main focus right now. With the higher resolution, I also decided I wanted to make some nice art, but that's a devlog for another time, since I've got a lot to say about that. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I want to sell a game. And I don't just want to make a game that sits on Steam untouched. I want a game that is played and enjoyed by a lot of people. One that when they play, they'll say, yeah, that was worth 10 bucks, or 5, or whatever I end up charging depending on how complex it is. If this game looks interesting to you, you can follow me on Twitter where I'm most up to date with my current progress, and I frequently showcase new art, mechanics, and anything else that comes out. You know the drill: like, dislike, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and wash your hands before supper. See you in the next video.